Marvel has the tagline, "The world outside your window." I honestly feel like that tagline doesn't really fit Marvel. A lot of people call comic books modern myths, which for the most part is something I disagree with. Both of these opinions are connected to the same root idea, that a lot of comics, especially Marvel comics, aren't meant to be true stories that are believable and take place in the real world. DC Comics before Crisis on Infinite Earths used to be a lot more comfortable publishing stories that are framed as taking place in the real world, or stories that feature characters from the real world. These stories normally involve the memories of non-DC employees or superheroes being wiped or time being altered to allow for the events of the story to take place without suddenly making them seem impossible. The characters in these stories emphasize that these stories are true events that actually happened in the world we live in, and that we have a greater connection to the multiverse featured in DC Comics than we realize. There have been multiple Crisis events where our world has been destroyed and then rescued by our heroes. One of particular note is Crisis on Earth Prime, which is specifically about our world being saved from a nuclear apocalypse by superheroes from Earth 1 and Earth 2. Another particularly mythic DC Comics story is Justice League issue 153, which is about how our world simply isn't ready to have its own superheroes and supervillains. The story takes time to explain how our world and the world of the heroes are connected, as well as the mystical force that brings superhumans together. I note that this story is particularly mythic, because like most myths it explains some kind of phenomena in our world. DC Comics literally has stories that feature the world outside your window that are believable. Tales that explain strange phenomena, just as myths were originally told as supposedly true tales, blurring the line between fact and fiction. These DC Comics stories placed in our world do the exact same thing. In this way, I feel that superhero stories that specifically take place on our world, that are told as if they are true stories, and that take the time to ensure that by the end of the story everything is back to normal, are literal modern myths.